Hi there, crafty friends. Welcome and thank you for joining me. Today, I thought we would make a card using Spellbinders flower card dies. And this flower card is just adorable. There are so many different color combinations you can use. We are going to keep it fairly simple today because I just want to really show you how to assemble all this. And it is pretty self-explanatory, but I do have a couple little tips. So I've already got all my pieces die cut that we will be using today. We've got our awning, and that just lines up just like that. We've got the greenery for our flowers. Then we've also got our flowers, and I did cut out a couple different options here. Then we've got our other set of flowers. And then we've got the little flower centers, and these I did cut out twice because you only get 2 on each die, and I wanted a little bit more option there. So I did cut those out twice. Then we've got our sentiment here, and you have a couple options. You can choose from a gift for you, thanks so much, or fresh flowers. And I chose the thanks so much. And I just taped those 2 dies together so I would get that nice border on there when I die cut that. And then for my wheel, you only get 1 wheel, so I did have to cut that twice. And I actually cut it 4 times and I stacked it just for a little bit more stability. Then we've got our panel here for the cart. We've got the little border that goes on the bottom of that panel. And then these down here are all our wood pieces, and these go on the cart. So they were a little flimsy and I wanted a little bit more dimension. I did cut those, I believe, 3 times and stacked them. So all my wood pieces and my side pieces are stacked. Then we've got this super cute little bucket here, and I cut that out of a metallic paper. And then this die here, this die gives us the little covers for our wheels and the handle on our bucket. And then that little tiny piece right there goes on the handle. So I did that out of brown, so it's like a little wooden handle on there. So now we can start gluing, and I want to make sure that I get this piece done first because we are going to add some dimension behind there so we can have it kind of pop out. And that just lays on there perfectly. I am going to put a block on this. I used a kind of pearl paper for this, and I just want to make sure that that dries. And then we can move over to our bucket. And I am just going to put a little bit of glue on the back of those handles there. If it seeps out the side, it really is okay because we will cover that with flowers. But I just want to get that drying also. Then we can come over here and work on our cart. And there is an embossed mark in there, which tells you how far to take this panel down. And you can see that embossed mark, just kind of nudge that panel right down there. And then we can add our accents on our wheels. Then we've got all our little wooden pieces here. So this wooden piece will go on our awning, but this one that is straight will go on our cart here. Let's get that added. And I do like to add this one first. And because I stacked those, we are going to get some great dimension in here. And then we've also got these little side pieces. And I love that they have the little impressions in there to make it look like wood. That is just so cute. Then we've got our other side panel here. And everything that I used today will be listed and linked in the description below. I appreciate you spending time with me. This is very cute, and the possibilities, the color possibilities for this are endless. And now I want to glue on my side pieces that come up here, but I want to make sure that I get that. I'm going to bring in a magnet. I want to make sure that I get those side pieces really straight. So I'm going to line up my front panel here on my grid paper, and then we are going to kind of hold this down with a magnet. Let's make sure that's straight. So now I'm just going to put a little bit of glue right there on this panel, on this arm, and I'm just going to line that up with the grid paper and try to keep that as straight as possible. We're going to hold that down for a minute. We will also do our next one, and we're just going to line that up. And if your height is a little off like I am here, that's okay. So let's give these a minute to adhere, and I will work on my flowers. So the flowers, there are 2 different greenery dies and 2 different flower dies, but they just line right up. They are die cut, so that flower piece will just fit right on there perfect. And I wasn't real sure which color I wanted to use for flowers, so I did do a couple extras. I think our wagon is all set. Those pieces are secured. Let's add the little accent flowers on our bunches here. And you can put as many of the little flowers as you want on there. I'm just kind of following the picture. I think that's good. We'll let our flowers dry for a minute, and we have leftover pieces. So let's bring in our awning. I think that is dry. It feels like it. So there are very faint little etched marks in where the awning looks like it's folded over. I want to actually fold that over. I want it to be a little bit dimensional. So I am going to bring in my scoreboard. And unfortunately, all I have is my great big one. I'm going to bring in our scoring tool. And on that very first notch, actually the second notch, we are just going to score on that awning. I've got it butted up to the left-hand side, and we are just going to score all the way down and get some good marks in there. And this is why I wanted to make sure that it was nice and dry, because I don't want to move that paper while I'm scoring. And if it's still wet, that will move a little bit, and that's good. And now we are just going to give that a little fold, just like that. So then I'm going to bring in some of my Altenew foam tape, and this is the thicker one. This is the 1/8 inch, and I am going to place this at the bottom of my awning, right on that fold mark. And that will give me some really good dimension. Then I can bring in my regular thickness foam tape, and we'll just put a piece of that right there at the top. And now when that lays down, you can see this is going to be a little bit higher than the back, so it'll really look dimensional. We can bring in our wheels, and I need a little bit of foam squares for this. I am going to use the smaller foam squares, but I do need to trim them down just a little bit, because even these little squares are just a little bit too big for our wheel. So let's put these right down here in that little notch. And that is the perfect height, so our wheels will rest nicely. And then we can add our wheels. And isn't that cute? Our little cart is just really coming along. So now we need to add our sentiment in there. We just want to look and see where that goes. And I think we can put a little bit of foam tape on that. So we're going to hold down our wheels. They are raised because we've got foam behind them. And I'm just going to center that. Let's get our flowers on there. And I am just going to glue these directly onto this bar here. We're going to have this bunch on our bucket. So let's get a little bit of glue on there, and let that set for a minute. It always takes a little bit longer for glue to set on that metallic paper. Then we can add our final trim piece that goes on our awning. For our background, I wanted to bring in my new favorite script text press plate from Spellbinders. I absolutely love this. And I hot foiled on white cardstock with silver foil. I am going to get some foam behind this panel and get it attached to my card base. And then we can add our cart. So I do want to put a little bit of foam tape behind my cart. And before I take that release paper off, I just want to look at my pieces and make sure that they will fit nicely there. Then we can see where we're going to place our bucket. And I think that will go perfect right there. I think that's good. So I'm just going to kind of look at that and remember I want the top of my, or the bottom of my wheels on the top of that second line of text there. And I did just use thin foam tape back here. I'm just trying to make sure everything is even on the sides with the wheels. I did not glue down my posts right here because once we put our awning on there, that will hold those posts down. So let's get our awning on there. And I just love that dimension of having the bottom of the awning folded over. We need a little bit of foam square behind this bottom right-hand corner. I think that's perfect. Let's do that again right here. I did stack these. I stacked a thicker one and a thinner one, and that seems to be the perfect height. So let's get that added. And I will put just a little bit of glue right here inside this wheel to help hold that flower bunch in place. And I want to keep this down just a little bit so we don't cover up our sentiment. Isn't that cute? I am loving this. So then I really don't think we need many embellishments, but I do want to put just a couple gems inside our little pink flowers here. And that card is done. Isn't that cute? I just love how this came out. Of course, you can use any color combination you want, and it was so quick and easy to assemble. Thank you so much for spending time with me. Please give me a thumbs up. Please leave me a comment, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.